Hey folks, we are live streaming. Gonna get Giles Lavery on. Hang on, folks. Here we go. It's the same old routine. Got to bring on the guests. Here we go. All right. Hey everybody. Waiting for Giles, and we'll get started. Let me straighten up the glasses here so I don't look like a fool. All right, guys. How's everybody doing in the metal world? Alan's not with us today, but that's okay. We got Giles Lavery, lead singer of Dragonsclaw. So I see everybody's logging in slowly, jumping on. And got the mic here. Usually Alan sits right here, so now I can have the mic. It's a little closer to me. The sound's a little bit better. We're having some technical difficulties today with Giles. We're trying to get him on. This thing is sort of like still in its infant stages. And there's Giles. Giles, there's the man. What's happening, brother?
All right, Jimmy, what's happening?
Okay.
We good? Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. Your voice sounds very gritty.
Gritty?
Yeah, a little bit gritty. Maybe because you were just taking a nap or something. I don't know.
No, I just took a shower. You mean in a Rod Stewart kind of way, or
Yeah, in a Rod Stewart kind of way. Sure. Brian Johnson kind of way.
or a Benny Mardones kind of way.
Maybe a little bit of Louis Armstrong, too. Okay, here we go. You ready for this? So this is what we're going to do, Giles. You like my shirt, by the way?
I love it. Where'd you get that from?
Disturbing the peace. Alcatraz, disturbing the peace. You like that, folks? You can pick that. Where can you pick that up, Giles?
You can get that at the Graham Bonnet Band merchandise page. We can put a link down here afterwards, if you like.
Okay. So this is what we're talking about today. All right. 3 things. Number 1, Chris Cornell dies, suicide. Number 2, the review of Dragonforce, their new album, and also Tankard's new album, which is One Foot in the Grave. And Dragonforce is Into Eternity, right? Do I remember if that's correct?
Correct.
Into Eternity. So let's start off with Chris Cornell, all right? Now, I mean, it's kind of tragic. I mean, if you're a fan or not, it's always tragic to see somebody who, kills himself, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
52 years old. I'll set this up, okay? 52 years old. A security guard breaks down the door. They find him lying on the floor. There's a band there around his neck, I would assume. Blood. He's dead. He was on Ativan, which is an antidepressant drug, or I guess it should be an antidepressant drug, or it's not an antidepressant drug. It was prescribed, and a lot of people are coming online now and saying, you know what, this is not the drug of choice. People should not be prescribed this drug because these antidepressants actually give you more thoughts of suicide. Your thoughts, Giles?
Well, that's my understanding of the situation. Obviously, before we go any further, it's irrelevant whether one is a fan or not. It's an unfortunate situation, to say the least. The medication he was on, well, I mean, none of us know exactly what was going on in his life, what he was taking, what he wasn't taking, what he was doing, and what he wasn't doing. It concerns me when I see people of any age reliant on things like antidepressants and stuff like that. There does seem to be a lot of unfortunate fallout or side effects from these things. I'm no expert. It seems to be a very quick fix. Get them on the antidepressants, they say. I hear that. I knew teenagers that were, the second time they went to a doctor, or first time, it was, get them on the antidepressants. Well, okay, maybe they help some people, but it seems too easy.
It comes down to this, okay? So so Chris Cornell was a drug addict, as a lot of people may or may not know. He's been struggling. He's a recovering drug addict, and that's why he was put on these pills, Ativan. And you're talking about for a long time now. You're talking about like oxycodone, like some serious drugs here over time. Maybe that was the reason why Soundgarden sort of broke up, like later on, before, back when. The question becomes, is the person responsible? Is the pharmaceutical company responsible, or is the doctor responsible? The doctors get what we call spiffs, which are kickbacks, are legal kickbacks. In other words, if you prescribe enough Ativan to enough patients, you get a trip to Hawaii, right? And you could bring a friend, or you get bags of money. At least that's how it works in the United States. A little less in Canada and less in other countries. But I'm sure in the developing countries, there's a lot more kickbacks, right? Or do we blame Chris? There's got to be some blame on the self, right? I don't know. Or is it a combination of both? What do you think?
I think it's probably a combination. A doctor has a responsibility to serve his patient as well as his profession to a degree of correct etiquette, and that's you're dead right. There are a lot of the way it is these days where people are getting free trips to Hawaii and there's kickbacks such as you're talking about. Then you can't really say with any real certainty is your doctor doing right by you. It's a personal choice. Do you feel comfortable with this doctor or that doctor or whatever? I really don't want to. I really can't comment on that. I personally, I hate going to the doctor. I don't go to the doctor unless I am gushing blood. Even then, I'll grab some gaffer tape before I'll go to the doctor or the hospital. I just don't like it. I don't even like taking an aspirin. I don't. I only had 3 pills.
But Giles, there's one thing we could learn. You could always learn from something, right? And in this case, maybe his death, it's not a good thing, right? But maybe we could learn, or we could further understand that pharmaceutical companies that are traded on the stock market, who need to sell as many pills as possible, right? And more pills. Maybe there's an issue, there's a disconnect between, the health of a patient, kickbacks, doctors over-prescribing stuff. Maybe there's a lesson in all of this, and maybe it's.
If the lesson wasn't learned with Michael Jackson, I'm not so sure it's going to be learned with Chris Cornell.
Yeah. I hope there's a lesson. I hope. It's sad to see. He was a huge talent.
I think it's not just America. It's becoming almost everywhere, but particularly America. People are becoming so hooked on a pill for this, a pill for that, a pill to go to sleep, a pill to wake up, a pill to have lunch, a pill to take a nap. It's becoming a sickness unto itself. Some people go to the doctor weekly. It's part of their weekly ritual. I think that is becoming a sickness, an addiction to healthcare or to medical or pharmaceutical products. That said, there are a lot of medications out there that are saving people's lives and keeping them on the planet. So where do you draw the line?
It's interesting. It's interesting because there have been a lot of posts of a lot of people saying that this drug actually has helped them. But, we don't know the details. When the autopsy...
No, that's the bottom line. We're sitting here, and I don't know the man. I don't know anything about the man, other than what, other fans can read about or whatever on the internet. I've never met him. So it's really hard for me to comment on what he, like I said, what he was or wasn't doing. Yeah, either way, it's clearly tragic and unfortunate. And if it was, as I understand people are saying, some sort of side effect of something he was prescribed, then there should be more attention paid to that kind of thing. And if it can bring more awareness, that would be the only good thing, really.
Yeah, and just to leave off with this, here are the drawbacks and side effects of taking Ativan. And again, these are based on, studies and what patients have been saying over the years. So, they're not making this up. They put this to save themselves, the pharmaceutical companies, right, to safeguard so they don't get sued. Call your doctor at once if you have severe drowsiness, thoughts of suicide or hurting yourself, unusual changes in mood or behavior, confusion, worsened sleep problems, sudden restlessness, feeling or excitement, muscle weakness, vision changes, upset stomach. And there's common side effects like dizziness, weakness, slurred speech, memory problems. And you could see it in his final performance. you know, he was off time. He was off sort of, I don't know if he was off key, but he was off time. He looked kind of like he was slurring there. You could see there was something wrong. The audience could see in Detroit that was something wrong. And I mean, look, you and me, we don't know all the details. We don't know if the guy took a bottle of pills. We don't know if he took 2. We don't know what he took. But we do know that, you know, it's a prescription society. You're right. And, you know, maybe this will create awareness, and people will, you know, hopefully, you know, draw attention to this, and maybe it'll help. I don't know if it will help, but we'll see. So there you go. You ready for number 2?
Absolutely.
All right. I'm wearing my Alcatraz shirt for all of you who have not seen it. All right, let's talk about the 2 new albums. The first being, let me just bring it up here on my screen. The first being Reaching into Eternity by Dragonforce.
New Dragonforce record. What are your thoughts, Jimmy?
Well, my thoughts are, you know, I break it down into 3 things all the time. Number 1, would the fans of Dragonforce like this album? Number 2, would fans who don't like Dragonforce like this album? And number 3, where does it sit in the overall heavy metal history? Like, will this album be loved like Back in Black or Heaven and Hell is loved throughout time in the next 50 years, right? So, and I'll ask you the same questions you could respond to. As for Dragonforce, if you're a huge fan of Dragonforce, then definitely you will like this album. It's what they do, right? Guitar-driven power metal, right?
Right.
Number 2, if you are not a fan of Dragonforce, I don't think this will change your mind. It's just basically the same thing that they've been doing, right? And number 3, in the heavy metal history or the legacy of heavy metal, will this album in 50 years be appreciated like Heaven and Hell, or, you know, the big albums, you know, that we like Kill 'Em All and, you know, Master of Puppets? I don't know, probably not, you know, but does that mean it's a bad album? No, it's not a bad album. It's, you know, it's a cool album to listen to. If you like guitar shredding, you like power metal, you like, you know, speedy, there's nothing new here. I mean, I could tell you a couple of. What are your thoughts? Tell me what you thought of those 3 questions.
It sounds like another Dragonforce record, and that's, as you say, that's either good or bad. If you love what they do, then you're probably pretty happy that it sounds like another Dragonforce record. If you were a little fatigued on them, or for whatever reason, or have never really been a fan, this is not going to be a jumping on point for a whole new fan base. The power metal genre is pretty much established by now. There's not a lot of things that can be done that could create, you know, tens of thousands of people to go, "Oh, I've never heard of this before. Let's check out this power metal stuff." You know, that kind of happened to me with, in my opinion, you know, with Hammerfall in the '90s, where, you know, that was a shift in power metal. It was different than the power metal of the '80s, and it became a whole new, you know, '90s, early 2000s genre. It's almost a very worn-out, fatigued subgenre right now, power metal. There isn't a whole lot more to say. So if you're already a fan of it, or remain a fan of it, then you probably do want more of the same. You don't want any other influences or experimentation in the sound. This record just maintains the style they've had since day one. I think you know, aside from that, it seems like, you know, I'm not a massive fan, so from an outsider's or relative outsider's point of view, it seems like they went away for a bit. You know, they changed vocalists. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, they did.
They had a minute there where they were really pretty big, and then they kind of faded away a little bit, and now it seems that they're back with this new record, and that's great. Yeah. It's great for them and good to hear.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I could name a couple of
guys. You know, they're good guys. I remember I went out with them at a bar in Sydney, Australia. This is going back, you know, 2004 or 5 or something like that. They were good guys, fans of metal, and one of them was from New Zealand, actually. So I thought that we were talking about that, so that was cool.
Yeah, Herman Lee is actually, you know, we interviewed him. Neil Turbin interviewed him at NAMM this year for the Metal Voice. A great interview. It was a little, the audio wasn't so great because it was so loud at NAMM. But I mean, the guy, he's a great guy. He's a great guitar player. I mean, you know what I would like to see from them, Giles? You know what I'll tell you what I like to see? I like to see them, and no disrespect to Mark Hudson, who's the current vocalist. He can sing. I'm sure if you went to a karaoke bar, you know, he'd impress everybody. But I'd like to see somebody with a real distinct tone fronting the band, like where you're saying, wow, wow. You know, it sounds so generic, right? I mean, his voice, as great as it is, it's just, I've heard it before, right? It's like insert power, high tenor power metal vocalist here, right? Do you disagree or agree?
No, I agree. Singers are the hardest thing to find for any band. It's number one, it's hard to find a good singer. Number two, it's hard to find a unique singer. To me, the best singers to me are the ones when you put it on, you know who it is. I mean, even someone like Ozzy, who's not technically particularly good, you know it's him. And if you're a fan of that, that's absolutely what you want. You know it's him. We always knew Ronnie Dio when you heard him. You always knew Lou Graham when you heard him. To me, that's what I think of every band should look for in a singer, is something distinctive, something that's not just one thing. You can always tell the guys that have a variety of influences, as opposed to, well, they were influenced by...
I so agree with you. And it's no disrespect...
Halloween or something like that.
And it's no disrespect to the singer. The guy can sing, right? Mark Hudson, he can sing. To name a couple of tracks, so we'll move on to the next album. But before that, here's what I thought. Judgment Day, which is a super upbeat song. It's, I think, the third song. There's like some serious guitar shredding and some serious keyboard work. I mean, it's very Dream Theater-like, with the sort of like the keyboard wah-wah that they have there. And Midnight Madness, it's another insane solos. There's a song called War, where the voice is a little more grittier. And The Edge of the World, which is an 11-minute track, which is a big epic track of the album. I'd like to see more of this. This is where they jump into prog metal, and there's a lot of death metal vocals here. So he's doing some death metal, which is good. He's being a little more versatile. No one's saying this guy's got a bad voice. But for me, I don't know, I think it's what you said. They are on a subgenre. Take, for example, Accept. The reason why they're so loved and they've lasted so long, because they can do fast, they can do slow, they could do sort of like your Doom-like songs, they could do anthemic songs, they could do a whole variety. And on an album, you'll get all that. These guys are just taking one aspect of music, speed. Drums are going, the guitars are going, speed. And that's it. It's kind of like it hits its limitations at one point. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. It comes down to songwriting in the end, and that's a whole other topic than individual performance and style. It's just the songs. You can only... Every record should have a few fast ones, but there's got to be other compositional strings to your bow than that. Otherwise, you're going to just... I mean, I'm fatigued when I hear an album that's just fast from beginning to end. It's just too much. I'm like, oh man, all right, enough. I get it, It becomes like a cartoon, like a caricature.
There's a song called Silence, to be fair, that is a sort of more of a power metal, a hair metal-like power ballad off the album, which is it's cool. And again, the vocalist, he can sing. It's not but kudos to the guitar. I mean, the guitar work at one point, I'm like, what? Oh my God, this is insane. It's Sam Toteman and Herman Lee that we all know. Man, these guys can play guitar, no doubt. And sometimes I listen to the solos. I could see guitar players liking this album just for the guitar work, just to say, how do I do this? How do I take it apart? How do I play this?
Yeah, that's another. That's a big reason a lot of people buy these records for that. It's almost like watching the Olympics or something like that.
Bumblebee.
For me, I don't listen to a lot of new records because I always think that, okay, how does this stack up to Heaven and Hell or Power Slave or, Rainbow Rising or whatever, or Alcatraz, No Profit and Rock and Roll, or any of my favorite albums of all time? How does this stack up to that? And if it doesn't, why am I listening to it? I don't need something that's sort of okay just to tide me over until... I don't need that. I can take any album off my shelf that's, those 100 or 200 classic albums that I love to listen to, put that on and be quite happy. I'm not always searching for the next thing to remind me that the good old days are still here. It's relevant to me if they are or not.
I hear you, man. There's this guitar sweeping, the guitar sweeping. That's what they're doing throughout these songs. Which again, this is a guitarist album. If you love guitar, this is basically, it's a buffet. So let's move on. I would rate this album, and I'm trying to be fair. I'm not a Dragonforce fan. All right, right off the bat, I never was. But I take things and I look from a neutral sort of perspective. If I was a fan, I put it at a higher rating. If I wasn't a fan, I put a lot lower rating. So I'm trying to find something in the middle. I would say this out of 10, I would put this maybe 7, 7.5 out of 10. Some good songs. It's just, it's not groundbreaking, but it's a good, pleasant album to listen to if you feel like listening to some speed, power metal, guitar-driven, shredding thing. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Especially if you're a fan, the most important people that this record's made for are the fans of Dragonforce. This is all kind of ironic, seeing as I'm in a band called Dragonsclaw.
There's a lot of bands. We should look up how many bands have the prefix of dragon.
Either. But
Dragon's Tooth, Dragon's Eye.
If you're a fan of the band, it's a good record, and that's all.
And I put it.
They're not making records for their non-fans, I'm sure.
Yeah, and if I was a fan, I'd probably rate it at 8.5 out of 10. If I was a Dragonforce fan, I'd say, "Wow, there's a lot of great Dragonforce stuff."
Anything else they've done, I think.
Yeah.
From what I've heard.
All right, so let's move on. So that was Dragon's Claw. No, Dragon's Tooth. No, Dragonforce. That was Dragonforce Reaching into Eternity. And let's move on to. Let me show a picture here. Here's the picture. You ready? I will show the picture of. Hold on. I love this picture. So one thing about this band that I love, it's Tankard. And if people don't know what a Tankard is, it's basically a mug, a beer mug, an old-fashioned beer mug.
It is, yeah.
It's a great picture, man. Look at this. It's all their album covers, all their album artwork is wonderful, beautiful. Here's a little goblin guy pushing all the alcohol. This is alcoholic metal. That's what they call it.
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah.
It's cool. It's the gravel. So here we go. The new album, One Foot in the Grave.
One Foot in the Grave.
And again, we have to the criteria for this is number one, will it please the long-term Tankard fans? Will it, where does it fit in the overall metal history? And if you're not a fan, will you now become a fan? So what are your thoughts?
Well, if you weren't already a Tankard fan, this is not going to do anything for you. If you are, it gets a little bit, it's not a little bit, it's a lot like the Dragonforce situation where if you're a fan, here it is, here's another one. They're clearly a band with a gimmick, drinking. If you're a German heavy metal fan, that's probably resonates quite well with you because German metal fans like to drink. They're a band. I've always found Tankard a little gimmicky. The music never did a whole lot for me other than mild amusement. I'm sorry to say. It doesn't mean they're bad. That's just my personal opinion. They've got some, they've definitely got some worth, and they're definitely legendary in the German heavy metal community.
Yeah, I mean, we should also mention here that go ahead, sorry.
I'm done.
Okay, all right. We should also tell everybody that, in regards to the 4 Teutonic German bands, with Sodom, Destruction, Creator, Tankard, is one of those, or at least considered one of those. I mean, what you have here is meat and potatoes thrash. If you were a fan of Tankard, you're going to love this album. It's a great continuation.
Thrash, you're a fan of this album.
If you're of Tankard, if you're a fan of their music.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if you're a fan of meat and potatoes thrash, you'd be a fan of this record as well.
Exactly. Agreed. Number 2, will this, be remembered throughout metal history? Probably not. It's not people are going to say.
Ask the question: will Tankard be remembered in metal history?
I think they will be. Yes, they will be remembered in metal history because they had something like 17 albums. They're part of the 4 Germanic, Teutonic.
They always seem to me as a little bit of the underdog, though. You had your Sodom and your Creator.
Destruction.
None of which I'm a fan of. I think they're all horribly noisy and terrify me, which I guess is their intention. But I've always felt that Tankard were kind of the underdog underneath there. You know, they never really got the acclaim. Those other the three big of German thrash seems to be something that's only really emerged in the last 10, 15 years. Those bands were never considered the way they're considered now. You know, the legendary status in the 80s. Creator were a very underground band. In the 90s, they were considered a very underground band still, with albums like Renewal and Cause for Conflict. They weren't really at that forefront along with Slayer and all that. But the German thrash metal has, certainly those bands, has obtained a higher status in more recent times. And those bands are now getting a recognition for the work they've done over the last 30, 35 years, which is great, particularly for the thrash community. So maybe it's time for Tankard to be a little more renowned for their back catalogue and their current release.
Well, you know what? They've been around since like the mid 80s. And like you said, only now that they've hit legendary status, probably because of the download, it's become, you know, globally, and because they've been around. That's basically it. They're consistent. But I'd like to tell you what Millie said from Creator, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. I do like Creator a lot. I do like Sodom, and I do like Destruction. So,
you like scary, heavy stuff.
Yeah, extreme thrash is good for me. And I like Tankard as well. I mean, I'm not going to be playing Tankard every day, but I do like them. I find it fun. I find it fun to listen to. It's a mood thing. The two, Destruction and Creator, are full-time bands. They tour the world full-time. That's what they do for a living. Whereas I believe it's Sodom and Tankard, they're sort of like, it's a part-time, you know, it's kind of like they go to their day jobs and then they do this. They go back to their day jobs and they do this. So, you know, that's just the backstory of these bands. This album overall is less humorous than most of their albums. It's a little more serious, a little more of a serious streak. You know, Arena of True Lies is the second track, which was a single, and Pay to Pray, and One Foot in the Grave, and Syrian Nightmare is another track. Those are the four tracks that I really dig. The Evil That Men Display instead of Do Display, Secret Order, and Soul Grinder. There's a lot of less humor in this album, a lot more serious tone on this album, and I think it's good. The bad is, you know, the singer's always singing the sort of like the same range, you know, he's always sort of like in that area, you know, he doesn't really deviate in terms of, you know, stretching his range or anything, but people like that. The drums, you know, double bassing away, and the guitar work is the guitar work, you know, insert guitar, you know, rhythm section here. But people still like the band, love the band, and you know what? No one's expecting them to be like Death Angel. No one's expecting them to be like Anthrax and more on the technical side. These guys do what they do, and they do it, and I really enjoyed it. And actually, I like this album a lot better than the Dragonforce, because at least Tankard, and like you said, they're underdogs, at least they're unique. They have their own sound, and you know it's them, right? Whereas Dragonforce is kind of like, okay, I know it's them, but maybe it's not them. You know, it sounds more generic, I'm trying to say. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I agree with everything you just said, actually. I mean, you're way more qualified to judge than me because you like German thrash. I find it a little harsh. The bands in the thrash community I like. I mean, I love Anthrax. It's a great band, you know. And I like Megadeth and early Annihilator. The German thrash just always seemed to be so like they were really, 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 really angry. So I never really. It was just a little. In all seriousness, it just didn't have the melody that some of the American thrash bands had, you know. So, and that's like, again, it's just a personal taste thing. So you're definitely if you're getting into creative Sodom and stuff like that, you're definitely more qualified to judge this record than I am.
I would put this album at an 8.3 out of 10. And again, it's not legendary status. It's just fun to listen to, and it is, I would say, probably one of their better albums in the past few years that I've at least heard. So again, as a fan, I'm judging it as a fan, and I think other fans would probably agree that it's probably in the 8 out of 10 range. Another consistent meat and potatoes album by Tankard. Now, here's the last part of the show, all right? Let's talk about the Riot documentary that's going on here. And we're not going to give away too much. All right, so Riot, we've been working on this now for a year. Just so everybody knows, it's been one friggin' year we're working on this. So Giles is on the street doing the video, getting the interviews on the street. I'm doing the interviews as well. You know, I'm using, you know, I'm filming bands as they come into town, and we're doing like Skype videos, and we're trying to merge photos and video that we're trying to find everywhere and scrambling. So we're almost near completion. And this is so big, the story of Riot, it's not like Geddy Lee, you know, like Rush. There's like 3 guys, and we're actually 4, you know, with John Rutsey. It's not like you have 3 guys in this massive history. We're talking about, like, I don't know, a room full of people, right? We're talking about, and stories that, you know, sort of like play into each other, and, you know, money issues and management issues, and Mark Reali's passing. And they're just so complex. The band breaks up, it starts over again, new members. It's so complex. This is like a friggin' mini series. And it's so hard that me and Giles have decided to take this on. So part 1 is nearly finished. So everybody, in the next few weeks, we'll probably be uploading it online on the Metal Voice. So you can watch that. Part 1 is almost done, believe it or not. After all the interviews, after all the work. It's going to be like Star Wars, Giles. It's going to be like released.
It's actually going to be
every year, you know, a new part. Right?
Exactly like Star Wars.
Well, Star Wars in the sense where each part is being released in a big time, sort of like a different, you know, like a year later, right? Or 2 years later, because it takes so long to get the first.
I hope that a couple of months would be fine with me. Yeah, it's exactly like Star Wars. That's my official statement. It's huge. It's really big.
It's Star Wars. It's Star Wars.
It's out there in space.
So there you go. We also did the Alcatraz, you know, report.
Oh yeah, the Japan Alcatraz Grand Bonnet Band tour with the Alcatraz set with Gary, Jimmy, and Graham, and in Tokyo. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, that tour.
And so everybody knows there's actually a DVD. What we did was like sort of like the story behind it all, but now there's going to be an official DVD that's going to be released.
Well, there's going to be two Blu-rays and live CDs. One is going to be the Graham Bonnet Band set, which was an hour plus, and then there's going to be the Alcatraz set, which is an hour, and there'll be some bonus bits and pieces on that, some unreleased tracks from back in the 80s. And they're coming out probably next year, I think. Later this year or early next year. Probably coming out one at a time.
Cool. And this is basically, it's whetting your appetite. If you go in the Metal Voice, the channel, you can watch the Alcatraz founding members. So when we mean by founding members, we mean the first Graham, Jimmy, and Mark. I'm not Mark.
Gary, got it right, brother.
Yeah.
Gary Shea, Jimmy Walter, Graham Bonnet, the 3 guys that formed Alcatraz.
That's right. And it's actually pretty good. We did a good job. Some great interviews, some great backstory. And not only that, the continuation of the reality show that we call the Graham Bonnet Band. Right?
Yeah. Second documentary, you did the live on the UK tour.
Yes.
Well,
So live
last year. We'll do Antarctica next, or Iceland or something like that.
That's right. Live in Iceland. But you know what? I think we got to finish this Riot thing first. Okay.
Absolutely.
And what's going on with the Dragonsclaw album?
Well, it's been done. We just need to mix it and then figure out, coordinate the release. And we've got a third album called Moving Target. It's been titled and recorded. All the tracks have been recorded for over a year. We just need to mix it. And, I didn't want to just throw this record out there. I still just don't want to throw this record out there. And it's too good, just to come out and be out under questionable circumstances or less than ideal circumstances. We need to find the right outlet for this record so that people get to hear it. It's a little bit like starting again because it's been so long since the last record. 4 years since the last record. So it'll be great to have it out, and but it'll only come out when the time's right for it to come out.
All right, so it's cool. All right, so there you have it.
Why don't we take some calls, Jimmy? Take some calls.
Take some calls. Today
it's
Sunday. It's a Sunday. It's usually it's a slow call day. How's that? But if anybody has any messages, please text me and I'll read them. I know people are just saying, hey, good morning, Soundgarden is cranked up, getting some messages. But I think it's a Sunday. And by the way, in Canada, tomorrow is Victoria Day. I'm not sure if in Australia they have the same thing.
I'm not in Australia. I wouldn't have a clue.
I don't know about Germany if they have a Victoria Day. I don't know if they have something.
I don't know.
They must have something. So anyways, that's pretty much it. We got Reaching into Eternity. If you're a big fan of Dragonforce, you will not be disappointed. Tankard, One Foot in the Grave. If you're a big fan of that band as well, they're kind of like the same, right? If you're a fan of the bands.
Well, yeah, I mean, I found it a little difficult to do this because here I am listening to two records that I'm not typically a fan of the band. And there's nothing against those guys, but I had nothing else really to, what can you say except, well, okay, to me this sounds like it would be pleasing to the fans of either band. This wasn't like a band I'm a fan of. I can get real in depth and compare it scientifically to the previous ones or whatever.
But I think that's what makes a better reviewer, because you're taking yourself. Fans will overrate their favorite bands and they'll miss. They'll selectively, they'll only find the stuff they like and they'll sort of like not talk about the stuff that aren't so great. So when you could review a band that you're not a fan of, I think there's a lot more perspective there.
It does help to know what you're talking about, though, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, of course, you need to know a little. You got to do a little research. So you should have done your research. That's what it comes down to.
I did do my research.
Okay. All right. So anyways, that's pretty much it. Dragonsclaw, new album. Riot documentary. On the way, Dragon Force, new album, go pick it up. And Tankard, One Foot in the Grave. And Chris Cornell, rest in peace. And let's hope we can, raise enough awareness that people against, prescription drugs, and maybe something can be done.
Well, I mean, it's just I don't want to sound like I'm campaigning for something here. It's just unfortunate,
All right, everybody. We'll let you go. Everyone, whoever is in North America or Canada, have a happy Victoria Day. And Giles, we will talk soon. All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, guys.